What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. The open beta for Diablo 4 is basically almost upon us, and this is going to be the first opportunity for a whole bunch of players to actually see Diablo 4 in action and to try any one of the 5 characters that are available. Now I absolutely encourage you to try all 5, and if you even just get a couple of levels in with each one, that's going to give you an indication of which one is your favorite and which one you want to have a go at when the full game comes out. But in today's video I actually just want to cover a fun build for the Barbarian. If the Barbarian ends up being your favorite, ends up being the one that you want to try and play to 25, this is a fun build to try and put together, and actually not that difficult since it is not that much driven by gear but far more driven by skills and the selection and combination of those skills. Even if you've played the Barbarian already but you haven't built this, I urge you to give it a try. You might be pleasantly surprised. I'm sure a bunch of you might have already guessed what this build might be, but yes, it is absolutely Thorns Barbarian. Now Thorns as an archetype is something that has been around in Diablo since forever in all of the iterations of the game, and I'm glad to see that as an archetype it is returning in Diablo 4. But specifically the toolkit for the Barbarian and the skills allow you to set up a very decent Thorns build just by default without actually having access to gear and emeralds and all of those things. But once you stack those things onto the skills that the Barbarian has, it just makes it that much more lethal. So first and foremost, just as a basic skill, you should be using Flay. Now Flay is a skill that essentially bleeds an enemy, and by itself it's not that fantastic. However, when you actually go over to one of Flay's additional nodes, Combat Flay, this is something that gives you damage reduction and thorns and actually stacks up over time every time that you connect with a Flay. So this is a fantastic way for you to essentially ramp up thorns. And then in terms of like any other skill that you use to burn your rage, this can literally be anything. I've played around with Upheaval. Upheaval is fantastic. It is really powerful. I've even worked in a form of Whirlwind here, but the bottom line is there should be ways for you to dump your rage. That's not where the majority of your damage and utility is going to be coming from, because of course Thorns is going to be doing so much heavy lifting. So feel free to literally use anything to dump your rage, but the bottom line is get yourself Flay and get yourself Combat Flay to start us off. Then next, when we get to the shout area, and the second mandatory skill that we absolutely have to have for this build is challenging shout. But more specifically, you want to drill down and get yourself strategic challenging shout. This is going to give you more thorns based off of a percentage of additional maximum life that you have. And within the same area here, you can then pick up outburst and imposing presence and tougher nails, which are all going to give you either more thorns or give you more maximum life percentage, and all of this is just going to keep on increasing the maximum amount of thorns damage that you can push out. Now challenging shout then essentially becomes a bit like an oh shit button or a boss button for you. Whenever you have a bunch of enemies around you or something that's relatively tough, as soon as you challenging shout, that's going to magnify the amount of additional thorns damage that you deal, and you're really going to start seeing people's health, well, people being monsters, their health bars just melt away. Now that's it. Those are the only 2 mandatory skills, the mandatory points that you have to assign. And after that, the sky's the limit. You can pick any ultimate you want to use, whatever you want, and you can pick any other ancillary skills to this. You can use leap to move around the battlefield faster. If you want to charge something, if you want to use any kind of slam or anything like that, the sky's the limit. The next way that you're going to increase your damage profile with this build is to now start looking for emeralds. Emeralds, of course, give you thorns when they are slotted into armor pieces, and you can slot 5 of these into your gear. So every emerald that you find, and even combining them up to higher grade emeralds, is going to allow you to stack even more thorns. Of course, thorns is also a substat that can be on your gear, so keep your eye out for any gear that has this on it, because that's just going to increase it even more. And then what you can also do to just increase your survivability is you can start looking at the affixes and leaning into affixes which increase your damage if you're standing still, which gives you a bubble effect if you take too much damage, anything like that, because the basis of this build is you want to get hit and you want to take damage, because that is going to allow you to deal damage out to enemies. Now you need to be taking a lot of damage, which luckily the Barbarian is very good at, so that's no problem. Further on, to increase your survivability, you can slot some skulls into your weapons, which is going to give you life on kill, which is great because as enemies hit you and deal damage to themselves and die, they're going to give you life, and that just fuels the engine and essentially keeps you going. Does this build turn you into an indestructible god of war? Yes, but at the same time, it is still possible for you to be killed. Every build has some form of a weakness. Dot effects are still something which this build struggles with, as those do not proc the thorns effect and don't deal damage back. Anything else, dude shooting you with bows, throwing you with stuff, guys coming up to you and hitting you, thorns is going to deal with them. But dot effects coming from enemies is not going to be something that causes the thorns effect to reflect. And at the same time, something else that you also need to bear in mind is just a shitload of damage up front is something that can still kill you. So stuff that explodes around you in multiples could still be a problem, but that is why we start stacking some of these bubble effects, which essentially give us a protective bubble for a couple of seconds or something like that if shit does go wrong. That being said, I played this build for several hours, I think close to 10, maybe 12 in the first beta, and I continue, or rather I plan to continue doing it in beta weekend 2 just to mess around with it more. But this might very well be the build that I start the game off in June, and at the most I just want you guys to check it out and see it for yourself, because it is really fun. It is literally like, you know, standing there and letting stuff beat themselves to death against you. It's the ultimate big brother build. Someone in my stream said it, where it's like, why'd you hit yourself? Why'd you hit yourself? So yeah, that's basically it. But in any case, feel free to share any additional tips for me in the comments here, how I can make this better. Obviously, this is a crowdsourced effort here. There's always improvements that we can make to every build, and of course this is just the beta, so a lot of things can change between now and launch. They can make thorns less efficient, they can change some of the affixes, you know, they can change the coefficients, anything like that. But for now, this is a shitload of fun that you can have with Barbarian, and if you don't know what to play this weekend and you want to try something fun, give this a shot. As always, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy the beta. I'll see you next video, and fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.